Well, look at Vietnam. We were over there, and we had very good support from a significant portion of the population over there. Then there was a certain population that were against us, the VC, and then you had some that were kind of in it for themselves. They could help the U.S. when they needed to, they could help the locals. It was a balance, and you didn't know who to trust. And that's why in the Mideast it's so difficult. There's so many tribes, there's so many cliques or clans, and it's hard to know who to trust and where their loyalties are. And the U.S. Troops are almost to the point of being a police force instead of a military operation. So we're sending our troops over there to be policemen. And yes, it's noble to be a policeman. But when you're over there and you end up getting court-martialed because you killed somebody, where if you were a policeman in the United States and you killed somebody, it might be that you'd lose your job, but you wouldn't be court-martialed and sent to Leavenworth. We're asking 18, 19, 20-year-old kids to make decisions, life and death, over there that is really unfair and unrealistic to expect. And that's why it's hard to win the hearts and the minds of the people over there, because they see us make an honest mistake. Then again, you've got some of the soldiers over there that are caught up in revenge and rage, and they can get a little emotional, and they can actually take more violence than they need to. And we understand that war is hell, and that there is a thing called post-traumatic stress disorder, and you've got somebody that's been over there and seen his buddy blown away, and he may not be thinking straight, and he may want revenge. We're asking these people to do a lot over there with very little realistic end in sight.
What are the goals?
Yeah, there you go.
What are our objectives?
And then
somebody tell me.
Well, and then to me, what undermines the whole sort of supposed objective in the Middle East, especially Iraq, is this sort of what our true interests are in Iraq. And I know that a lot of soldiers, certainly a proportion of the soldiers, and certainly a huge proportion of the Iraqis, certainly question the American government's true agenda for invading.
What we're doing over there, and we don't know that we don't clearly have defined objectives which define victory. Then how do they know what we're doing and how long we're going to be there? They don't know either.
The objective shifted many times. First, it was like, we're going to liberate them and create democracy. And then there's these arguments about the oil interests and then the weapons interests. But these guys actually in this book, I don't know if you can zoom in on this, or I guess you can't. But it's this book's called The Israel Lobby, and it's by John Mearsheimer, and he's a professor of political science at the University of Chicago, and he's also the director of the program of international security policy. And also Stephen Walt is professor of international affairs at the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University, and the dean of the Kennedy School from 2002 to 2006. And essentially in this book, The Israel Lobby and U.S. Foreign Policy, Drs. Mearsheimer and Walt, they argue pretty persuasively, and they have it's a very well documented book. It's essentially a research book, and they argue, a lot of people that are pretty critical of the Iraq War, a lot of them think that oil interests and weapons interests may be part of the reason that we're there, and certainly there's indications to say that oil is a part of it. I mean, when we invaded, a lot of our troops were ordered to go protect the oil wells and to go protect the oil ministry. We surrounded the oil ministry with tanks and snipers, yet we didn't protect the libraries and the museums. We allowed them to be looted and lost valuable national treasures. But so I mean, the oil argument's there, but in this book, The Israel Lobby, actually Mearsheimer and Walt say that actually the primary reason that we invaded Iraq was because not necessarily that Iraq ever, by any reason of anyone's stretch of the imagination, threatened America. I mean, we're the biggest military in the world. We spend $700 to $1 trillion a year in military spending. We have the massive military. No one truly threatens us. I mean, potentially Russia did at some point, but no one truly threatens America militarily, and we have a lot less to fear than we're led to believe. But they argue that Iraq did potentially pose a threat to Israel, And this is part of the reason we invaded. And it's the same with this ramp up to go to war with Iran. I mean, Iran poses no threat whatsoever to America, but they do potentially pose some kind of threat to Israel. And so Israel kind of wants America to invade these countries for them in a way.
Yeah.
So we could be talking about why are we doing it, and I'm sure we could come down with a lot of lists. There's some real strong agendas, and then there's the little side issues, you know, Halliburton and money and things like that. But so that's talk about the mission or why we're there. Then you get the method. How should we do it? I still like what Ronald Reagan did in Libya with Gaddafi whenever he bombed over there.
Right.
You know, if we wanted to send a message to Saddam Hussein and the other Iraqi sympathizers that were hating the U.S., we've got enough technology to do things without our soldiers having to go on a convoy to protect a general who wants to make a briefing or wants somebody to brief him, and the soldiers on the ground tell the general, sir, we can spend the night, secure this area, get the roads safer, and go tomorrow. And he could reschedule the briefing, but no, he wants, so they go today, and a soldier gets hit by an IED. We call them booby traps in Vietnam, but he gets hit by an improvised explosive device because he's providing security for a general who wants to go to a briefing. In Afghanistan, the Russians found for 10 years that they couldn't win a war over there.
Well, they say
so if Afghanistan could fight off the Russians for 10 years, what makes us think that we can win in Iraq after 10 years?
Right.
That's a good question.
Right.
That's a really good point. Let me go back real quickly and then we can come back here for a second. One thing was that, you know, actually, I believe the first time we invaded Iraq, you know, after they had invaded Kuwait, Saddam sent a few Scuds into Tel Aviv. So Saddam actually shot. So there was some revenge stirring there. Another thing is that Israel actually bombed a nuclear reactor that Iraq had in the 80s. I can't remember. Yeah, I think it might have been 88 or 89. I can't remember. But I know that was, so there's been some bad blood between Israel and Iraq.
Well, look, didn't Iran and Iraq fight each other for 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, and guess
we supplied weapons to Iraq. Yeah.
Guess who
well, the Russians helped Iraq and we helped Iran.
Right.
Well, we kind of helped both, I think.
Wherever we could make some money.
There was money involved, all right. But people don't realize that one either, is that Iran and Iraq had a lot of bad blood. And now that we're in there, one of the problems that potential strategic implications of us leaving is that there's a power vacuum. And guess what? Iran is going to see, you know, Iraq kind of sitting there. And that's one, like, we've really, in a lot of ways, we've complicated the Middle East by going into Iraq, big time.
Yeah.
Iran, I mean, Iran is they're on their way up, I really do think, as far as a regional power. And if we leave Iraq...
Well, it's interesting that we actually strengthened Iran,
Certainly.
I mean, when we after 9/11, Iran was kind of willing to help the United States. They told the Bush administration, they were actually helping the Bush administration invade Afghanistan.
We have a lot of Iranian friends. I graduated from college and had several Iranian classmates. I had at least 7 or 8 students that graduated with me that were from Iran. And some of them I know stayed over here and became U.S. citizens. Some of them went back to Iran. But we've got friends all over the world.
We do. Yeah.
But that's why we think we can get away with being the policeman all over the world, because we are respected. But if we keep doing it long enough, our respect is going to go down.